Helen was 67 when she first walked into my office. A retired librarian with a soft voice and gentle smile, she carried a glucose log scribbled in blue ink. "I've been doing everything they told me," she said, eyes downcast. "But my numbers still don't make sense." Like many seniors I meet, Helen wasn't looking for miracles. She just wanted to feel steady again, to stop waking up exhausted, to eat without fear, and to trust her body again. She'd tried cutting carbs, walking after meals, even sipping vinegar water each morning. But what surprised her most was something she almost overlooked: her spice rack. We started small. A pinch of cinnamon in her oatmeal, a sprinkle of turmeric in her soup, ginger tea in the afternoon. No pills, no drastic diets, just gentle shifts, one spoonful at a time. Within 8 weeks, Helen's fasting glucose dropped. Her energy returned. And best of all, she felt in control. Not because of restriction, but because of nourishment. I've walked this road with countless seniors, and one truth keeps resurfacing. Nature holds more answers than we think, especially in the smallest ingredients. I'm Dr. Jonathan. For the past 25 years, I've helped older adults manage diabetes with compassion, care, and the healing power of food. And today, I want to show you 5 everyday spices, backed by science, that can quietly transform your glucose, one meal at a time. When Helen returned for her follow-up, she brought me something unexpected: a small glass jar filled with homemade spice mix. "I never imagined something so simple could help me feel this alive again," she said. Her words stayed with me. You see, when we think about managing diabetes, we often picture complex diet plans, prescriptions, and medical charts. But sometimes, the most powerful tools are already sitting quietly in our kitchens. Spices aren't just for flavor. Many have been used in traditional medicine for centuries, long before we had labs or clinical trials. And now, modern science is beginning to confirm what ancient cultures always knew. These small ingredients can make a meaningful difference. What makes them so special? Certain spices contain natural compounds that reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and slow down carbohydrate absorption. In simpler terms, they help your body respond better to sugar and reduce glucose spikes after meals. But there's something even more important than their biology. These spices are gentle, accessible, and empowering. They don't require a prescription. They don't overwhelm. And they give seniors like Helen a quiet sense of control, a way to support their health without feeling deprived. As one study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food concluded, several culinary herbs and spices possess bioactive compounds that may assist in managing blood glucose levels in type 2 diabetes. Of course, no single spice is a cure, but when used consistently, they can become part of a powerful support system, working alongside your lifestyle changes, not against them. So, where do you begin? Let's start with one of the most researched and beloved spices in the diabetes world. It's warm, comforting, and probably already in your pantry. Yes, we're talking about cinnamon. But not just any cinnamon, and certainly not in excess. Let's look closer at how this familiar spice is quietly making waves in blood sugar science. Cinnamon isn't new. It's been used for thousands of years, in ancient Egypt, traditional Chinese medicine, and even in the Bible. But in the world of diabetes, cinnamon has earned a special spotlight. The secret lies in its active compounds, especially cinnamaldehyde and polyphenols, which have been shown to mimic insulin activity and enhance glucose uptake by cells. In simpler terms, cinnamon may help your body use sugar more effectively, almost like a gentle boost to your natural insulin response. In a landmark study published in Diabetes Care, researchers gave participants with type 2 diabetes 1 to 6 grams of cinnamon daily for 40 days. The results were promising. Fasting blood glucose levels dropped by up to 29%, And there were also improvements in cholesterol and triglyceride levels. That's not a small number. That's the kind of shift that can help someone feel more energetic, reduce complications, and regain confidence in daily living. But here's something important to understand. Not all cinnamon is created equal. Most cinnamon found in supermarkets is the cassia variety. While affordable and flavorful, it contains higher levels of coumarin, a compound that may affect liver health if consumed in large amounts over time. The safer, more studied variety is Ceylon cinnamon, often labeled as true cinnamon. It's milder in flavor but lower in coumarin and better suited for long-term use. So how do you use it? Start small. 1/4 to half a teaspoon of cinnamon daily is often enough to support blood sugar, especially when paired with balanced meals. You can stir it into oatmeal, add it to smoothies, or sprinkle it over roasted sweet potatoes. Some even enjoy cinnamon tea. Just steep a stick in hot water for a few minutes. Cinnamon works best when used consistently and in combination with other healthy habits. It's not a magic bullet, but it is a gentle ally. Helen, for example, began adding a pinch to her morning oats. It became a small ritual, one that made her feel proactive, cared for, and supported by nature. And while cinnamon opened the door, it wasn't the only spice in her new routine. Another humble seed was about to surprise her next, one that's often forgotten in Western kitchens but revered in traditional medicine across the globe. Let's explore fenugreek. Helen was skeptical at first. Fenugreek? She laughed. Is that even a real word? It is. And for centuries, it's been a treasured part of healing traditions in India, the Middle East, and North Africa. But in the West, it's often overlooked, sitting quietly on a shelf, or only known by adventurous cooks. Fenugreek seeds are small and golden, with a slightly bitter, maple-like flavor. But don't let their size fool you. These seeds are packed with soluble fiber and plant compounds that can significantly benefit blood sugar regulation. One of the key ways fenugreek works is by slowing the absorption of carbohydrates in the digestive tract, which in turn prevents large spikes in post-meal glucose. It also contains an amino acid called 4-hydroxyisoleucine, which may help stimulate insulin production in the pancreas. In a clinical trial published in the International Journal for Vitamin and Nutrition Research, participants with type 2 diabetes who consumed 10 grams of fenugreek powder daily for 8 weeks experienced significant reductions in fasting blood sugar and improved glucose tolerance. Even more compelling, another study found that adding fenugreek to bread or flatbreads reduced the glycemic index of those foods, making them more blood sugar friendly. So how can you use fenugreek? One simple method is to soak a teaspoon of seeds in water overnight. Then drink the water and chew the softened seeds in the morning. The flavor takes some getting used to, but many patients say they feel a difference within weeks. Others prefer to grind the seeds into powder and add them to soups, curries, or even homemade salad dressings. Helen opted for the water-soaking method. She didn't love the taste at first, but after seeing a gradual drop in her glucose readings, she began to look forward to it, like a quiet, purposeful ritual at sunrise. Fenugreek isn't as popular as cinnamon, but its power lies in its consistency. It works gently, over time, helping to ease your body into balance without drastic measures. And just as Helen was settling into this new habit, we introduced a third spice into her routine. This one, a familiar friend from her childhood. Warm, fragrant, and comforting, it's a root that's been used in both kitchens and clinics for generations. It was time to bring ginger back into her life. Ginger had always been part of Helen's memories. Her grandmother used to brew it with honey during cold winters, calling it nature's warm hug. But she never imagined it might help her blood sugar too. Ginger isn't just a soothing spice, it's a metabolic ally. Its active compounds, gingerols and shogales, are known for their powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. But what makes ginger especially interesting for people with diabetes is its ability to improve insulin sensitivity and enhance glucose uptake by muscle cells, helping reduce the amount of sugar circulating in the blood. In a 2015 study published in the Iranian Journal of Pharmaceutical Research, adults with type 2 diabetes who took 2 grams of ginger powder daily for 12 weeks showed significant reductions in fasting blood sugar, HbA1c, and insulin resistance markers. Another study in complementary therapies in medicine supported these findings, showing that ginger supplementation helped stabilize blood sugar levels, especially when paired with a healthy diet. For Helen, this meant something simple yet effective. We started with half a teaspoon of freshly grated ginger steeped in hot water, a calming tea she could sip mid-morning or after meals. As she got used to the flavor again, she began adding it to vegetable stir-fries, lentil soups, and even fruit smoothies. But beyond the numbers, ginger became a moment of comfort in her day, a warm, familiar flavor that felt less like medicine and more like care. One gentle reminder: ginger is generally safe, but in high doses, it can thin the blood slightly. So, if you're taking blood thinners, talk to your doctor before using it daily. Still, when used in moderation, it's an easy, accessible way to support glucose balance. Helen's morning now included cinnamon in her oats, fenugreek water before breakfast, and ginger tea with her mid-morning break. It wasn't overwhelming, it was grounding, familiar, reassuring, and she was beginning to feel steadier, not just physically, but emotionally too. Yet there was one more spice I was eager for her to try. A golden powder with centuries of medicinal history and some of the most compelling modern research in glucose support. It had the power to calm inflammation, support the pancreas, and enhance the body's insulin response. It was time to talk about turmeric. Turmeric had always fascinated me. Its deep golden hue, its earthy aroma, its centuries-long use in Ayurvedic medicine, it all pointed to something quietly powerful. But what truly makes turmeric special for those managing blood sugar is its active compound, curcumin. Curcumin is a natural anti-inflammatory agent, and chronic inflammation is a hidden driver of insulin resistance. When your body is constantly inflamed, your cells become less responsive to insulin, making it harder to regulate blood glucose. Curcumin works like a calming hand, easing inflammation and helping insulin do its job more effectively. In a study published in the journal Phytotherapy Research, researchers followed people with prediabetes who took curcumin supplements daily for 9 months. The results were astonishing. None of the participants who took curcumin developed type 2 diabetes, while 16.4% of those in the placebo group did. Another study found that curcumin improves beta cell function in the pancreas, the very cells responsible for producing insulin. But like many things in nutrition, there's a key detail. Curcumin is not easily absorbed on its own. That's why I always recommend pairing turmeric with a small pinch of black pepper. Black pepper contains piperine, which can increase curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. For Helen, we began with a simple recipe: warm almond milk, half a teaspoon of turmeric, a dash of cinnamon, and a pinch of black pepper. She called it her evening golden cup, a calming way to wind down and nourish her body before sleep. She also began experimenting, adding turmeric to scrambled eggs, lentil stews, and roasted vegetables. It wasn't long before her kitchen smelled like a place of healing. Of course, a small word of caution. Turmeric is generally safe, but in very large amounts, it may affect blood thinning or digestion. For most people, a half to 1 teaspoon a day is both safe and effective. Turmeric gave Helen more than just numbers. It gave her the feeling that she was gently turning the tide, that her body was no longer something to fight, but something to support. And just when she thought her spice journey was complete, I introduced one final addition. A dark, aromatic bud often reserved for holiday recipes, but carrying blood sugar benefits that surprised even researchers. Let's take a closer look at clove. Clove isn't often the first spice people think of when it comes to blood sugar. Most recognize its bold aroma from holiday desserts or mulled wine. But behind that cozy scent lies a potent medicinal profile that deserves more attention. Cloves are rich in polyphenols, especially a compound called eugenol, which has been shown to have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and even glucose-lowering effects. In one laboratory study published in Journal of Medicinal Food, clove extracts were found to enhance insulin function and reduce blood sugar levels in test models. While human studies are still limited, the early evidence is promising. Cloves also contain manganese, a mineral that plays a role in how your body metabolizes carbohydrates and helps regulate blood sugar. For Helen, this spice was more of a surprise than the others. "I thought cloves were just for cookies," she said with a smile. But we found gentle ways to add it to her meals. We started with clove tea. Just 2 or 3 whole cloves steeped in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes made a warm, slightly sweet drink. She also added ground clove in small amounts to oatmeal, stews, and even her golden turmeric milk. The key, as always, is moderation. Clove is strong, and a little goes a long way. About a quarter teaspoon of ground clove or 2 to 3 whole cloves daily is enough to offer benefits without overpowering a dish. More than its effects on blood sugar, clove became a finishing touch in Helen's journey. It reminded her that healing doesn't have to feel clinical. It can be fragrant, flavorful, and deeply human. By the end of our 3-month journey, Helen wasn't just seeing better numbers on her glucose monitor. She was smiling more, walking farther, sleeping deeper, and perhaps most importantly, she felt in partnership with her body again. These 5 spices didn't just change her meals, they changed her mindset. And they reminded us both that when we work with nature rather than against it, the results can be quietly extraordinary. Now, I want to leave you with one final reflection. When Helen visited me 3 months later, she no longer carried a notebook filled with glucose readings. Instead, she brought a small cloth bag with 5 jars inside, each one neatly labeled cinnamon, fenugreek, ginger, turmeric, and clove. "I thought I'd start gifting these to my friends," she said, smiling. "Not as medicine, just as a little reminder that healing doesn't always come in a bottle." Her ANSI had dropped. Her fasting blood sugar was within range. But more than that, she looked lighter. Not in weight, but in spirit. That, to me, is what true healing looks like. Because when we talk about managing diabetes, it's easy to focus only on the numbers. But numbers don't tell the whole story. Not the quiet confidence of waking up with energy. Not the joy of cooking a meal and knowing it's doing your body good. Not the peace of feeling steady, physically, emotionally, and mentally. These 5 spices won't fix everything, but they offer something powerful. Momentum. A way to begin. A small act of care repeated daily. And over time, those small acts add up. If you're feeling overwhelmed by your blood sugar, start with just 1. Stir cinnamon into your breakfast. Brew a cup of ginger tea. Try turmeric in your soup tonight. You don't have to do it all at once. And don't do it alone. I've spent 25 years walking this path with older adults. And what I've learned is this. When we treat our meals as medicine, when we lean on nature instead of fighting it, we find solutions that are not only effective, but kind. I hope this journey through 5 spices inspires you to see your kitchen not as a place of restriction, but as a place of restoration. And if you ever doubt that small things can make a big difference, just remember Helen.